All right, hello and welcome to this live webinar, part of our new series, the AI Sales Edge series, where we dive into how AI is impacting sales and how it's likely to evolve. My name is John Golden. I'm the Chief Marketing Strategy Officer, Pipeliner CRM, and the Sales AI CRM, and host of Sales Pop podcast. So thanks to both Pipeliner CRM and Sales Pop for sponsoring this event. Please enter your questions in the chat, and my colleague Martha in Vienna is going to look after that. And now I'd like to introduce our guests, our experts. First is David Inman, partner at Sales AI. How are you doing, David?
Doing well, thank you.
Yeah, David's a sales leader, AI innovator, revolutionizing revenue growth by combining cutting-edge technology and personalized sales strategy. And you have, using AI-driven automation, you say you have increased revenues 4x with the sales team 80% smaller. Wow, that's pretty impressive. And our other guest here is Thomas Ryan, CEO and founder of Bigly Sales, a visionary leader reshaping the sales landscape through innovative AI solutions at the forefront of AI-driven sales. Through Bigly Sales, cutting-edge tools for lead generation and custom landing pages. All right, gentlemen, let's get straight into it, and maybe I'll just start with you, David. I think just for everybody who's listening, and people have different levels of understanding of AI, can you just give people what the difference between an AI agent and maybe things they're more familiar with is chatbots and things, like just explain how different AI agents are.
Yeah, I mean, that's a question we could definitely spend a decent amount of time on. Main one from our experience, though, is just it is the way somebody's interacting with it, right? If you look at AI in its basic sense, I mean, it's been a part of business systems for the last 20 years, right? And when you look at it in chatbots, I mean, that's been pretty active for at least the last 5 years. When you fast forward to really last year's when agents started coming into play, that changed the level of interaction that as a consumer and as a business we can have with AI. So now it went from something that we're just texting back and forth on a computer to where now we can have full phone calls, and it can run us through, and it can help with answering FAQs. It can overcome objections. It can take care of things inside of our CRM during the call. It can send emails and text messages. It's gotten to a point where it can do what entry-level sales reps can do, and that's a completely new thing to the industry.
And Tom, tell me a little bit about. Okay, so that all sounds fantastic, but I mean it has to leverage off of data somewhere, right? So, talk a little bit about how AI agents, how you can use them, but also what you need to have in place in order to have them be successful.
Well, they're changing the rules on this, so we're going to see what happens with Trump. And I don't want this to be a political discussion, but January 27th, if you're doing B2C, one-to-one rules are coming into place. I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. Get your own lawyer. But what's going to happen is basically for you to call someone, you can't use co-reg data anymore. You can't buy a list of data and call someone. They can't sell your data to 20 different people, 100 different people, which is happening right now. So if you fill out a form, that form has to say XYZ company is the one that is calling me. And it's got to be an agent of XYZ company that is making that phone call. So that's a huge change that's happening to the regulatory landscape. And again, it's going into effect in 2 months and 7 days. And there's a bunch of lawyers here waiting in the wings to start suing people left and right on January 28th. Right. If you're violating this, they're coming after folks. They're coming after folks with class action lawsuits where they can get access to all your records, see every time you've done something illegally, and maybe fine you $500 every time. So $500 doesn't sound bad unless you made 1 million phone calls. Then it's $500 million, and that does sound bad, right? Especially when we're using these automated technologies right now, where I can make 1 million phone calls in a day by clicking a button. Mm-hmm. So, that's that on the data side. What you need to get set up is you need to be buying leads one-to-one. They can't be sold to multiple different parties. Obviously, you can run your own ads on Facebook. You can run your own ads on Google or TikTok or any of the platforms out there. But you need to have your name on there. There needs to be one-to-one consent. You should use Janaya or a trusted form lead token on there to get a copy of that, save that record for 5 years, statute of limitations, make sure it's protected. Because this actually happened. This happened to my brother. He had people come in and fill out forms in his office and give them their cell phone numbers, and they wanted to be called, right, for his business. Like they absolutely wanted to be called. He didn't save the records. Class action lawsuit, $250,000 settlement. You know, and that's just because, and no one was harmed. I mean, they wanted these phone calls. They, like legitimately. Yeah. So, and it's only getting worse. So, be careful out there from a regulatory standpoint. B2B, you can still do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah. So,
cell phone, is it an office phone or is it a personal phone?
Yeah. So on the B2B side, David, what are as you prepare and people prepare to maybe leverage agents in their business, and particularly using internal data sets, maybe what are some of the challenges there? Because let's face it, most people don't have clean data sets.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at challenge, I mean, high level, the biggest challenge is people thinking AI can do what's just not possible yet, right? The number of conversations we have where people are saying, hey, I'm seeing what AI is doing. It can run my business. I'm going to fire my entire sales team and AI is going to do all of it, right? That's not happening right now. And so what you bring up is important in that you still need a data set, right? There's a number of people that are saying, hey, I want AI to do my lead generation. It's going to go find all the leads. It's going to enrich it. It's going to somehow get opt-in, which is not something that AI can do right now. And then it's going to take care of the communication, right? That's maybe someday, but right now, no. Right. So when you're looking at using this, especially in a B2B sense, it is where is your data source coming from? How is it organized? And then what tool are you running it through? Right. If you've got those questions answered, then it's not really that difficult to plug and go. You just got to make sure you've got those check marks first.
Yeah. And you've cleaned your data.
Yeah. And to a point, AI can actually do a pretty good job of cleaning data. Right. Like, and there's lots of tools for this, but if you're still having a person sit down and clean data, that is not a good use of human time, right? Yeah. There's a number of companies we've helped that have a CRM database of opted-in data from years, right? I mean, some of them pushing 500,000, 2 million records in there. So being able to have AI go through and quickly figure out which ones are still active and which ones still want to hear from you is a great use of AI.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have a duplicate checker in Pipeline and CRM to help our customers to clean their data. Tom, tell me a little bit about, so how do AI agents work? How do they learn? How do they develop? Just explain for a neophyte how it actually operates.
Yeah, I mean, everyone thinks AI is magic. I think it's a little bit of what David said, that they all assume it's magic, right? That it's this all-knowing machine that they saw in the movies at Skynet, which is sitting here calculating everything in the back end. That's not how it works. The way I think of AI is really autocomplete, right? It used to be able to use structured data, do SQL queries, things like that. And now you can go through the unstructured data. You can go through papers, you can go through notes, you can go through things, and it can read it and, for lack of a better word, understand it. But it's really, you've just taken everything that's been on the internet and fed it into it. So it kind of can guess the right output. And that's the way it works, that the way it produces tokens, it produces one token and then, and then it'll say, well, what word is going to come after the in this, type of sequence. And it's going to guess the next word and guess the next word, kind of like the way Google works when you start typing in words on there, right? So, everyone thinks, well, I set it to the AI, it's going to remember this. It's not going to remember it unless you program a memory. How do you do that? You store that data somewhere and then you feed it back to it, right? And now, well, your prompt sizes are going to get very big, right? If I'm taking a lot of data and feeding it back in, that means there's a lot more cost involved. That means there's more time involved, right? That whenever you start getting bigger prompts, you slow things down. Same thing. If you're using a bigger model, it's going to slow things down. If you're using, the 4 billion version of Llama, it's going to be, a heck of a lot slower than if you're using a much smaller version. Or the same thing with ChatGPT versus ChatGPT Mini. But we were doing phone calls. We figured out pretty quickly, you can't use ChatGPT 4.0 to do the phone calls because the latency just gets too long.
Right.
right? We have to use a smaller model to speed things up.
Mhm.
So, there's a lot of things like that. What I like doing for companies is finding a use case
Right.
that works, and then we program out that use case. And you still really got to tell it what to do. It doesn't just figure it out. Right now, you can use the AI to say, "Hey, how would you do something in this thing?" One of the best use cases I found is I had AI pretty much write all my prompts. I said, "Hey, this is what I'm trying to do. This is my desired behavior. How do I get it to do that?" And then if it doesn't go right, I go back and say, "Well, it's not really doing it the way I want it to. I'm still having this and this and this happen when we do test." And then, we have it right again. And I know there's some companies that are actually doing this testing at scale with the AI as well, where you can have multiple agents test these things thousands of times and come up with, here's the ultimate prompt for you. Here's the answer. But you have to set each one of these things up individually and then, make it work and make it run and test it out. It's not magic, at least not yet. And even something like, the new version of ChatGPT that just came out, what they have is multiple agents on the back end.
Right.
That they have, different prompts that do different things. So, to make our phone calls work, we might have 30 or 40 different prompts running with different things. Hey, we have a timeout for silence. We have, we'll ask, are you still there? We'll have it go to the knowledge center if something happens. We have a tool for scheduling. We have a tool set up for live transfers. We have a tool set up for this, a tool set up for that, right? But you have to build all these different tools and then stack them all together to actually make this stuff work. I don't know if David has a different opinion, but
David, do you want to weigh in on that? And also, I think, David, if you want to maybe talk about a couple of use cases, maybe that you use, so that people understand when you do get it right, how it operates.
Yeah, and Tom did a really good job of breaking that down. One of the things that I feel like our developers always have to do with me is like phrase things like I'm a child when you're looking at the difference in their understanding compared to mine. And one of the things they explained to me that was really helpful, they said, if you took a fresh college graduate, or a reasonably intelligent fresh college graduate, and you had 3 months to train them, right? And they had a phone and they had a list of contacts and they had some objections and talk tracks. You had 3 months of training. That's essentially where AI agents are right now, right? But instead of 3 months, we can get them trained in a day to go take care of that task. So can AI go and run really complex sales? No, not yet, right? It's not going to jump on. It's not going to take care of, it's not going to do what an account executive would do in a complex sales cycle and close the deal. But it is going to be able to take care of customer service to an incredible degree. And it's going to be able to forward that over to somebody when it gets too complex, right? And it's going to be able to make more calls than any human has ever done in their entire life in a day and be able to reach out to your entire base, right? Like those type of things, it does at scale better and faster and more efficiently than any human we've ever seen. It's just not to the point of some of the complex. So when that was explained to me as far as where AI agents were, it just made sense. So I thought that might help.
And that's exactly what we're doing as well. We're going after, hey, what's that Filipino call center doing, right? What's that Pakistani call center doing? You don't have someone who speaks English that well, right? They have a list of 5 questions that they need to ask. And if the answer is yes to all of them, the person qualifies and then it gets transferred over to the US agent. That's really the area that we're tackling right now. Again, customer service, I think, is beautiful because we can take 10,000 pages of documents. We can put them into a knowledge center. We can have it search for it. And, while we're having a conversation, someone doesn't want to wait if we're going back and forth and they think it's a human. But to wait for 5 seconds to get the answer to something out of 10,000 pages of documentation, as opposed to hope the guy in India knows it off the top of his mind, right? I'm going to take that every time.
Right.
No one's not willing to wait 5 seconds to get the answer. Like for our scheduling tool, it's like, hold on, let me check my calendar. Hey, I have a date available tomorrow at 11 a.m. Does that work for you? Right? The time frame is 3 seconds, 5 seconds to get that information. And, it's much faster than a human can do it for a lot of these things. So that's exactly right. These things that are a little less complex. I think there's 15 million people working in offshore call centers, right? It's a pretty big market there. That's, there's enough low-hanging fruit to be able to handle that. And then all the support stuff, it's the same thing. how do you do this? AI is wonderful in support. If anyone on this call hasn't used AI yet, right? Next time you have a problem on your computer, don't call customer support, ask ChatGPT. Next time you're trying to figure something out in any major program, I don't care what program it is, ask ChatGPT how to do it, ask Claude how to do it. You'll be stunned at how good the answer is. And then if you get an error, feed the error back in. Or it doesn't work the way you want. Say, hey, that didn't work. This is what happened. And then it'll be like, oh, well, here's how you fix it, right? And I mean, it's amazing at that sort of thing. Everything on Stack Overflow is in there, everything. So, support, wonderful, simple use cases, wonderful, right? The stuff that you have the sales reps in their first 3 to 6 months doing, amazing. Super complex sales still has a little more trouble, but any question that you ask it, what we do is we do a Jeopardy style, and we say, what are the 100 most common questions that you guys get asked? Right? And then we feed it in. And then every time we catch a question that people are asking that we haven't put an answer to, we feed that in as well. Right? What's the best answer to this question?
Right.
And, now you've handled 99% of your inquiries that way. So if someone's actually asking a question, it does a great job.
Yeah. And thanks, Tom. And David, how have you seen your sales, that whole process improve, or how have you seen that the AI and AI agents have been able to help your salespeople to maybe elevate themselves and focus on the real, the relationship building, the human stuff, the stuff that AI can't do right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And is that in respect to my internal team, or are we talking customer base as well?
Both.
Okay, cool. Because internally, we've done a lot of the, I would say, common ways that people are looking at using AI, right? At one point early last year, my sales team was 67 reps, and then we had an additional 20 that were overseas callers, right? We're now at 11 full-time sales reps and no part-time. And we're doing 4 times the revenue with that, right? And that's because AI is taking care of so many of the things that just sales reps hated doing and they weren't very good at doing in the first place. So our AI takes care of the inbound inquiries. If somebody calls, they get a hold of AI. AI answers questions. A lot of those questions are not something you need a human for. And once there's enough interest, it transfers it over to one of my human reps, or it books a meeting depending on what's needed at the time, right?
We're doing the exact same thing.
What was that?
Exact same thing. Same thing. All inbound inquiries are fielded by the AI.
Yeah, and that's every company in the world should be that way now, right? Nobody wants to press one.
It's support. Why the hell do you pick up the phone? You're going to support 24/7 now.
Yeah. You should never have a phone that's not picked up. You should never have to press 1 or 2. AI is so good at those beginning questions, right? The other is leads. I mean, we've been in business for 9 years. We have a lot of old leads sitting in our system that no matter how many times and how many systems I've worked on with my sales reps to recycle through those and to hit them again, they just don't do it effectively. AI hits them every 6 months until they don't want to anymore and they want to be taken off the list, right? And that is incredible at bringing opportunities back to the table. And then some of the simple things like meeting confirmation, and if you have a no-show, getting the meeting back on the calendar, right? Those are really no-brainer areas. Some of the cool things that I've seen some of our customers do, one of them, for instance, does insurance verification. And so they used to have humans sitting on a phone with an insurance company for up to 45 minutes on hold, doing nothing, and they're paying for that time. And now AI sits there on hold, right? What a better use of AI. And then AI goes through the initial and transfers over to a human to take care of it. And we're seeing similar type things across pharmaceutical, in residential services, right? Any of these places where you used to have humans that are just sitting there dialing and sitting on hold and usually not getting a hold of somebody, right? We know that on average, you've got maybe 3 to 6% of calls that are picked up. What a waste of time to have somebody sitting there doing that. Even if you're using a parallel dialer, most of those calls are not successful. Have the AI take care of the beginning part of it and then get it over to a human that is skilled, right? When you look at my sales team, the 11 people that are on, it's because they're my best. They are amazing at it and they love their job now. They don't do the stuff they hate. It's all day doing the stuff they love. They make better money. The company's more profitable, just all around way better setup now.
Let me add to that as well. A lot of the things that the AI is great at, you had 67 sales reps. How many of them like taking detailed notes and putting them in the system?
Never met a single one.
And how often, Tom, how often have you heard that thing, a salesperson come back with where you say, where's the where's all this information in the CRM? And they go, well, do you want me to sell or do you want me to do data entry? And you're kind of like, well, both. Come
Every
on.
sales rep I've ever seen hated doing that stuff. I mean, just absolutely hated it. And you might have one person in 100 who's okay doing it, but they're probably not a good sales rep anyway. So the AI will automatically take that transcript, automatically load it into the system, can take questions. Here's the 5 questions we needed answered, the 10 questions we needed answered on this call. Segment those out, have it set off to the side so anyone can come in and look at it, right? You know, have that call recording sitting there. Can automatically take, you know, one of the big things we did is we set up a scheduling tool where someone can say, hey, I want to schedule a meeting. And, you know, we say, great. Or we ask them if they want to schedule a meeting usually, but say, great. We got a time available tomorrow at 10, and then we'll go back and forth with them if that doesn't work. That's our first available time. Guy goes, no, I can't do tomorrow. Well, what works for you? It'll, you know, the guy will say when he's available. It'll tell him if that time's available or not. It'll go back and forth. We'll get that scheduled. It will put it on the calendar. It will add that to any sales reps' calendars that we want. We can give it to them in a format, you know, on their phone. If they want it in the app, we can give it to them connected to their Outlook or to their Gmail. Right. And then we do alerts on it where we automate out alerts where they're going to get, you know, 3 texts and 3 emails for the meeting so they don't actually miss it. And all of this stuff is done in an automated fashion where it's set up once and then it just works. Yeah. Right. You know, so how much work went into that initial setup? A ton. Right. We've worked on this for, you know, months and months to get that working right. But once it's there, to be able to duplicate that process and do it over and over is a no-brainer. So that's what it is. You get one of these things set up, you get it set up once. A lot of this stuff might be low-hanging fruit in an organization, especially a big organization. I was talking to a friend the other day who runs a big healthcare facility. He said, we got 70 AI programs active right now. Every single one of them, I'm getting above 100% ROI.
Wow.
On all 70.
Yeah, above 100% is pretty good, yeah.
Hey, and
can't get better.
Get 100% on it, I tell them no.
Yeah,
no, we're going to use our resources somewhere else.
Yeah,
but this place has 10 or 15,000 employees. I mean, you know, so there's so much low-hanging fruit if anyone is looking for it to bring in a couple of AI experts, hire an outside company, bring in some people, and say where do we have manual processes that we can replace with the AI? Where are we wasting a lot of time? Where are we spending a lot of time doing this stuff? There's so much low-hanging fruit out there for companies.
One question that we had, you know, come in from the floor, David, maybe you want to take this first, is when you with your customers, if you're a building AI agent, so you're doing them for particular customers or whatever, and how or your customers are using your solution, how do you handle data security? Because obviously one of the big concerns is, you know, people don't want their proprietary information going out and, you know, just getting intermingled with everything out there on the web. So how do you handle that?
Yeah, so part of this is going to be handled the same way that you would handle it with a human that was in that position, right? What are the systems that's supporting it? For instance, one of the areas that one of the industries that's done a really good job of adopting AI so far is medical, right? Medical and pharmaceutical is very quickly moving on this. And we know that that is an area where security is one of, I mean, that's one of the most important when that comes to that industry. And so it's what are the systems that it's running on? And then you go and you get the same compliance checks that you would with any humans that were in that, right? Do you have HIPAA compliance? Or do you have, when you're looking at what's behind it, right? Do you have AWS running it, or do you have a homegrown system, right? When with any of this, it is what systems support it and what type of compliance measurements do you have in place? And then there's still going to be humans that are touching it. So are the humans that are touching it, are they compliant as well? If you're good on those 2 areas, as long as it's an AI that you've got set in a closed system, that it's not sharing that data across it to help with additional training, you're in good shape with compliance and with security.
Excellent. And in our, because we're bumping up, we have about 5 minutes left, and we got this question in that I think is going to take up the last few moments of it. Maybe Tom, you want to start with this? How do you envision AI agents transforming your industry in the next 5 to 10 years? 5 to 10 years sounds like a long time right now. But
5 to 10 years is an eternity. What's going to happen is all these models are going to get faster. They're all going to get more capable. You know, and then I see that there will be specialty models doing specialized things, and these things are going to stack on top of each other really well. So if we're doing calls, right, OpenAI is trying to change this, but right now you need a text-to-speech provider, you need a speech-to-text provider, you need an LLM to sit in the middle, right? We need some sort of WebRTC to make that call go out. Then we need some sort of listener that's on there to actually listen to when people are speaking and when they're not. I mean, there's probably about 7 or 8 different components that go into just making a call. All of these things are going to keep improving, you know, and as the open source gets better, as our open source controllers get better, as all these things get better, it's going to be sort of plug and play. You know, the way I see it, you know, initially it might have taken us a month to get a client set up, you know, and then it's down to a week. And then as we have all these other things built out, you know, we're hoping by January to have it down to about 10 minutes. Right, to get the client set up, because so many of these things are already templated and already done, and you know, we can do it with the click of a button. So it's, you know, using these tools ourselves, eating your own applesauce, so to say, to make this happen. I think the AI agents, you know, pretty much anything that is being done on a computer is going to be done cheaper, faster, and better with AI. I don't care if it's a webinar, a complex sales call within the next few years, rather than just a simple sales call. I mean, you know, anything with data, anything with accounting, anything with graphic design, with videos. I mean, you name it, it's being done on a computer. The AI is going to be able to do it better, faster, and cheaper with multiple agents running in the back end that you don't really notice.
Yeah. And David, particularly as it relates to sales, how do you see the development going forward?
I can't even pretend to say 5 to 10 years from
now.
now.
I know. I'm assuming 5 to 10 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking, I feel generally confident when we're looking like 12 to 18 months out. Beyond that, it's such a big guess. But some of what Tom was talking about, right? Just looking at where we were a year ago compared to now. Right, a year ago is as the early adopters were really starting to using AI. They had to master 12 different systems to be able to do that, right? They need to be working from GHL and from a different CRM, and they had to have a caller and a scriptwriter and all these different things. Fast forward to now, and most of that is gone already. Right? You jump into Sales AI, you click an agent, you say what it wants to do, and it does it. Those are built into it. As we look into the future, I think this is going to be expanding way beyond just calling, texting, and emailing capacity. Right? I think this is the first step is going to be expanded integrations, that this is going to be working inside of multiple systems simultaneously, so that you don't have to be logged into multiple systems anymore. And then I don't think we're very far out from video. I don't think my guess is by the end of next year, you're going to be sitting here having an interview with a digital version of me, right? There's going to be an AI version of David, an AI version of Tom that's going to be doing a better interview than what we did today. I really don't think we're very far from that. And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. I want to have it replace tech sales, that just have it do demos for people, right? We're not there yet, but like, if you ask me what we're going to be doing in 2026, I would like to say, hey, everyone working for a Microsoft or for, you know, one of these types of places, we can have the AI go and do a demo, and now you're doing it for pennies. Instead of this guy that you're paying $200,000 a year to, you can have the AI do the same thing for, you know, I don't know, 20 cents, 10 cents, whatever it's going to cost them. I mean, that's one of the things I see going, but that's just in the sales side. We're not even talking about medical with the imaging, with being able to recognize cancer, being able to recognize, you know, breaks in bones, different diseases, you know, all of that stuff. It should be way better than any human on the planet. I think it probably already is. I just don't have the latest numbers.
Yeah. And just finally, David, on you, just because you have to give some to give some good news to salespeople. So what you said is you now have your best performing salespeople. They're all top salespeople, and AI is making them even better and able to earn more and do the relationship bit. So I think the message out there is to people is to upskill, perhaps.
Yeah, it is. If you're a middle of the road sales rep and this is not something you're passionate about, go find another job, because you won't have a job much longer. Right? AI is replacing mediocre.
Yeah, how about if you're a middle of the road lawyer? You think your job is safe right now? You know,
That's true across a lot of areas. Yeah, but if you are good, I mean, this is going to be the best time in your career by far, right? I mean, my strong sales reps are running more calls, they're having more conversations than they've ever had before because they don't need to do all the other stuff, and they're all making a better income, and it's just starting. Right, next year is going to be even more fun. So if you're good, this is when you capitalize on it. If you're not, go find something else that you're good at.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, we're bumping up against the end of our time. So listen, thanks to both of you. Just before we go, David, tell Sales AI, how do they find you?
Yeah, I mean, Sales AI, you can Google salesaa.com. We're very easy to find and very happy to obviously jump on our website, give a call, have a chat with our AI, and after that, if it makes sense, have a chat with one of my humans.
Yeah, and same for you, Tom, Bigley Sales.
Same thing, bigleysales.com. Talk to the AI, see how it goes. You know, if you're happy, book a meeting with us.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks again, David. Thanks again, Tom. Thank you for tuning in, and for those who watched.
Another thing.
Yes, of course.
One of the use cases that we like is when someone does have compliant data that their humans haven't been able to reach, right? You have 500,000 records you didn't reach last month. Give it to us. Let the AI make 10 million calls to it, right?
Right.
You have 100,000 records you didn't reach. Let the AI call it all, 20, 30, 50 times. We see a beautiful use case for it. And then we can live transfer it or schedule appointments over to your team.
Perfect. Great. Well, I think that's going to apply to a lot of people. So again, thanks, David. Thanks, Tom. Thank you for watching and listening. Thanks to the people who share and comment. And as I said, this is the Sales AI Edge series. We'll be doing more of these, another one next month, hopefully, and a monthly series thereafter. And maybe you gentlemen will come back in the not too distant future, and we'll see how far we progressed in that time.
That would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Listen, thanks again. And thanks.